Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning into AMTV Alternative Media Television. We have a very, very serious situation developing in Iraq. The President of the United States, Barack Obama, just spoke, and he specifically said no troops on the ground. No troops on the ground. What that means and what that translates to is that expect, and I fully expect in the coming days, that the President, along with coalition forces, will launch very aggressive and violent airstrikes in Iraq. The region is boiling over and is in a major, major crisis. Growing portions of this area overflowing from Syria, neighboring Iraq to the west. Now, of course, this has been part of the mass destabilization effort created by the United States over the past several decades. Whether or not this was the original invasion to liberate the Iraqi people about 11 years ago, met with a recent alleged withdrawal by the Obama administration, and Obama likes to pat himself on the back, saying that it's his greatest claim to fame that he withdrew our troops from Iraq, now threatening airstrikes in the coming days, which I think will be coming literally maybe within 24, 48, 72 hours or more. Now, of course, all of this will be propositioned and pitched as a joint effort with the United States and coalition forces, and that's what Obama likes to do. He likes to blame, the UK or blame coalition forces for the attack, for the strike, when it's all about the United States. And it just goes to show you what an utter and gross failure this intervention has been overseas in the Middle East over the past several years, whether or not it's been Iraq or Afghanistan, with the terror groups, these terrorist organizations gaining more steam and more strength as a result of the United States' influence and rather interference in this part of the world. I think Republicans have an excellent argument here. Obama's failure to intervene in Syria a few months ago, even though that was staged and manufactured by the West, and we know that the chemical warfare and the weapons used against innocent civilians to murder men, women, and children was actually propagated by the same insurgents supported by the West. I think Republicans have a very good argument here in that the failure of the president to intervene in Syria has now spilled over to Iraq. Now we have groups like ISIS that are forming very well-formed organizations that are toppling cities. 3 in the process of being toppled right now. Saddam Hussein's hometown of Tikrit, the second largest city in Iraq, Mosul, and Baghdad literally falling now, which is why the president is making urgent announcements on CNN, the bullshit, lamestream, mainstream media, with a background image of a helicopter to show and to convey like he's got some kind of strength, when in reality the international community does not respect Obama at all. And I find this funny because, again, he says that there'll be no troops on the ground. Again, this is all about politics, but he's going to launch an aggressive airstrike in the coming days, killing a bunch of people. What's the difference? First off, most of these wars aren't fought with troops anymore. They're all technological wars. Whether or not you're dropping bombs or dropping a nuclear bomb destroying the entire Middle East is still war. There's still casualties. It's still an intervention. It's still war. And war doesn't equal withdrawal. You've got to be an idiot at this point if you actually still buy into the right-left paradigm, if you still buy into, supporting the Democrats or supporting the Republicans. Whether or not it was the Bush administration before or it was and is now the Obama administration makes no difference. These wars have continued. And this is a very, very dangerous time in American history. Things really just growing worse in recent years. Of course, all this tied into the New World Order, all of this tied into economics. In fact, something that I'm watching very closely right now is the rise and surge in oil prices. Keep in mind that a very large surge in oil prices always, historically at least, has preceded very large downturns and stock market crashes. We saw this in 2008. We saw this 11 or so years ago before the U.S. invasion in Iraq. All of this now repeating once again. In fact, I made a video yesterday talking about the president was likely to launch airstrikes in the coming days, and now after watching and reviewing the speech, I couldn't be more sure of it. And very tragic, and the tragedy here is all of the innocent Iraqis, all the innocent Afghanis, all the innocent civilians that have died in the Middle East over the past several decades, the U.S. troops that have been sent over there, young men, women, to fight on behalf of the United States, only to learn that really their efforts were utterly useless, and that the region is now boiling over even worse than it was before. And see, that's the point, folks, is that was the original intention. The intention has never been to liberate the Iraqi people. You know, Operation Iraqi Freedom. We've seen how well that's worked out. The United States implicitly propping up a puppet government only to be taken over, toppled, and destroyed by groups like ISIS. And the United States, I honestly think, is running scared right now. I honestly think that the United States is very worried about what's happening in the Middle East. And it's exactly why there will be an aggressive, very violent attack via airstrikes courtesy of the United States, the President Barack Hussein Obama, and coalition forces in the coming days. And I think we're going to see it blasted all over the mainstream media, much like we saw 11 or so years ago when it was being lit up by Republicans. Now it's going to be lit up by Democrats. And it's an utter and gross tragedy. This is a full-scale regional global conflict, and it's only going to get worse. I'm Christopher Green. Get it out everywhere, make it viral, hard-hitting and in your face, and click the link below to share this video everywhere.